Welcome to the Rocky and Meisty Show presented by Jew Stool. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Let's get right into it.
You're completely missing the boat, Amr. You're at the wrong dock.
I'd have to say this. If he's looking to go to a new team, the last thing he wants to do is be like, oh, I'm not playing. No, he's got to show up. And he's got to show the Browns, you just lost $250 million by not playing, by not giving me that money. You're going to give it to him? Go for it.
This is crazy. Tyreek Hill going to the Dolphins for 5 picks. Second to positions. Should we end the podcast now? I that's breaking news. Should we end it now? Now or later? Which one? I walk out right now. The Vikings going to the division. Hear it first. Hear it first.
That's asinine. You're crazy.
He's got the full package.
No way. I don't care. No way. I can't even. It's hard to even look at you right now when you say something like that. That's crazy.
We want to talk about legacy-defining plays. And legacy-defining throws take 13 seconds, and you get the ball into field goal range. That is absolutely insane.
I have to be frank with you guys. Mitch Trubisky is not a good NFL quarterback. He has never been.
Okay, and guess what? In basketball, you use a basketball. In football, you use a football.
Okay, Mike, it's time to have a little fun here. These are my favorite ones. We get to have a little fun. We get to guess some win totals, team win totals. We got the AFC East and the AFC North for today. And then we will try to get to every single team in every single division throughout the remainder of the offseason. We're getting close, man. We're getting close. We're in July, which means that the next month is preseason football. The USFL has concluded today, so the next step is preseason football. So without further ado, we have the win totals. And, of course, a reminder just to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Our Lamar Jackson video hit it off. That was one of our more popular videos. Yeah, people really love Lamar Jackson, must be. And our Baker Mayfield one did really well, too. So recently we appreciate it because we've really been getting great feedback, and we've been getting a lot of views and a lot more action. It's been more action-packed. It's been awesome, and we appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. It's been a blast. It really has been so fun whenever people are tuning in and commenting. It's like it makes it so much more fun. So we love it. So let's get to it, and then we're gonna have a little trivia at the end. Have a little fun today, Meisty. Let's get started with the AFC East. So I'm using, and that's what we're using. We're going to be using DraftKings over-unders for win total as of today, which is the beginning of July. So, this could change by the time you're watching this, by the time this is released, who knows? But that's what we're going to use for now. So we have the Buffalo Bills to start off. Now, the Buffalo Bills, as we know, maybe the Super Bowl favorites, Meisty. It wouldn't be crazy to say that. It really wouldn't be crazy to say that. Their over-unders 11.5. So that's a big number. And it's a big number for one reason, not because the Bills aren't capable of winning 12 games, but it's a big number because who in the AFC didn't get exponentially better? Not a lot of teams, right? I mean, not a lot of teams. Most teams took significant steps forward and are just making like they want to make a Super Bowl run this year. But the Bills were already poised to do that. 11.5, Micey. So I'm going to make my pick first. I'm going to say 11.5. Bills are going to go over. And it's because the Bills just have way too much talent. Re-signing Stephon Diggs, and they added Crowder, and they added O.J. Howard, adding more weapons, Gabriel Davis, surgence late in the season, Josh Allen, and I doubted him after the breakout year in 2021. I said, listen, in 2020, is he going to repeat that in 2020? I don't know. He wasn't as good, but he was still a top 10 quarterback the entire year. So Josh Allen, one more year, if you give him 3 straight good years, then he's for sure going to be penciled in as a good quarterback. But nothing's going to indicate to me that he's not on the trajectory upward. Signed a huge contract, signing Von Miller. I mean, this team is just making strides. They were already one of the best teams in football last year, and crazy ending away from making the AFC Championship game last year. If not, could have won the Super Bowl. Definitely could have won the Super Bowl if it wasn't for that crazy game with the Chiefs. Bills are going over 11.5, my Steve. What do you think?
I definitely have the Bills going over 11 wins. I have them probably getting about 13 wins on the season. Their strength of schedule is just it's not too difficult, honestly. It's 18th ranked strength of schedule this year. So, 11.5 wins is a very good number. I think they're going to go a little bit over that. I think that Vegas is counting them for losing to the Dolphins and to the Jets, but I don't see that happening at all. I think they're just going to roll through that division. I think they're going to roll through. Yeah, I don't know if they'll sweep. The Patriots will definitely be interesting, but I think that they'll sweep the Jets and they'll sweep the Dolphins, and I think that they'll do very well. I think they'll be back in the AFC Championship game. I don't see it any other way. I think they'll be hosting the AFC Championship game.
Okay, fair enough. Would you go as far as to pick a win total for the Bills?
Yeah, 13.
13. Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's move on to the Dolphins. So the Miami Dolphins made one of the biggest headlines during the offseason. Meisty and I were right there to react to it the day of. That was awesome. Tyreek Hill, 5 picks. That was just a enormous monster deal. You want to hear something crazy, Meisty? You know what the Dolphins' win total was last year?
7.5.
Most would say that they were not nearly as good as they are this year heading into the season. You know what their win total was? 9.5. You said 9.5?
I said 7.5.
9.5. Their win total heading into 2021 was 9.5. Their win total heading into 2022 is 9. Even though they signed arguably the best receiver in football and Cedric Wilson and improved their receiving core like you can't imagine. I know they traded away Devontae Parker, but still, you got Jalen Waddle. Nobody knew how great he was going to be. He had a great rookie year. Sort of had an opportunity because Devontae Parker got injured. Tyreek Hill came in. They have Cedric Wilson from the Cowboys, was a solid piece for them. Upgraded the offensive line. Still a lot of work there to do there, but upgraded the offensive line, and they go a half a win lower. Why is that, Meister? It's because of what I mentioned. The AFC got that much better. And Teddy Bridgewater did not, Tua, they signed Teddy Bridgewater, but Tua did not get that much better. He was the 25th ranked quarterback in the league, according to PFF, still a grade below 70. That's very bad. That was in the league with like Baker Mayfield last year, not much better than that. And we know how poorly he performed last year. So obviously there's a lot to improve in terms of Tua Tagovailoa. That's what's making DraftKings hesitant and all these other betting markets hesitant and Vegas in general. 9 wins. Will they get over 9 wins? I'm going to go over. I'm going to go 10. I'll tell you why. I'm going to go over because I don't think Tua is that good, but receivers at the caliber of Tyreek Hill can make players around him better. I really believe that. And he can even make the quarterback better, right? Like, what did Tyreek Hill do last year with Patrick Mahomes? It wasn't like Patrick Mahomes was spectacular for most of the year last year. Right. Short slant routes, give it to him 5-7 yards down the field. He can do so much damage after the catch. He had the lowest yard per target, right? Meaning before he caught the ball, right? The distance from when the ball was thrown to when he caught it, lowest yards per target of his career last year. And yet he still racked up an incredible amount of yardage because he can do so much damage after the run. Tyreek Hill's a game changer. As much as I sort of said the Dolphins, they sort of need a quarterback if they're going to get Tyreek Hill. He's too good. I'm going to go over 9. How about you?
Yeah, I'm putting them exactly at 9, probably about 8, 9. So if I would say I'd have to go with the under. I have them down for 9 wins this season exactly as well. I really like their strength of schedule is kind of difficult though. I'm gonna give them an 8. I'm gonna say they're gonna get 8 under. I'm gonna give them.
You're going low? You're going low?
Yeah, they're gonna go under and have 8 wins.
Okay, fine, fair enough. Patriots are at 8.5. So the Patriots are at 8.5. And I'm just going to say straight up, I'm going under. I don't like doubting Bill Belichick, but I don't know what that draft was. I mean, I didn't really see much strategy. Listen, I can't doubt Bill Belichick. I really can't. And he knows a lot more about football than I do. But I didn't really see many value moves in the draft where tons of teams in this year in the offseason seemingly had good drafts. I mean, we won't really know till the players develop, until they play for a few years, if they're good drafts or not, right? We never know right off the bat. But just if you look at it on the surface, they made some questionable picks. They didn't really make such big strides in the offseason. We signed a couple players, but I don't know. I just their biggest move was trading for Devontae Parker, and he's good, but I don't know. I really don't know. If Mac Jones just develops and plays even better than he did last year, top 10 quarterback, maybe, but I see below 8.5. What about you?
I had 6 written down for the Patriots, and then you're like, and then you said to me, then you just said they signed Devontae Parker. I said that might get them one more win. I jotted down 7. I think that the Patriots did they make the playoffs last year? They're gonna miss the playoffs this year.
Yeah, remember they got killed to the Bills.
Yeah, they got crushed. Right. I think they missed the playoffs this year by far. They don't, early in the season, 6-7 wins, tough season for them, tough schedule. Just things aren't going to go their way. It's one of those seasons. If Bill Belichick could pull it off, Bill Belichick is the only one who can pull it off, but he's in a tough It sounds great. He's in a tough division. I don't know the last time we could say that division was tough. Right? The division is literally a tough. The other Dolphins who could be good, the other Bills who could be good. So I think the Patriots are going to struggle here, and they're going to get 6-7 wins on the season.
Moving on to the New York Jets, our favorite team, who re-signed one Joe Flacco this offseason, our favorite player.
Wow.
He did lead the Ravens to Super Bowl runs. So,
really hoping the Ravens would sign him.
They went to Joe Flacco. Don't sign.
Yeah, I need a starter here in Baltimore.
Well, the Ravens will be the next team to discuss. But as far as the Jets go, they did improve in the draft. They made some good moves in the offseason, but Zach Wilson didn't show anything promising. I was sort of looking for that towards the end of the season, like Sam Darnold towards the end of his rookie season. We had like a couple good games towards the end of that rookie season, if you recall. I didn't see that so much from Zach Wilson. And although they made some good moves, this roster has a lot of holes to fill. They can be somewhere in a couple of years, but I'm still going to the 5.5.
I don't think the Jets would win more than 3 games this year. Like, give me a flat 3-win total for the Jets. Think of it like this: they have the 27th ranked strength and schedule, like hardest schedule this year. They're really going to be going up against a tough division. I told you the Patriots are going up against a tough division. Can you imagine what the Jets are going up against? Forget it. 3 wins if they're lucky. Maybe in a couple of years.
Outside of the Buffalo Bills.
Not sure. I love the Dolphins. The Dolphins too. I think the Dolphins go to the playoffs.
You just said they're going to get less than 9 wins.
So what? They're going to make the playoffs.
Oh, you said even. You said 9 even.
8-9 wins, and they'll make the playoffs. 8-9 wins can get you into the playoffs these days.
I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. There might be 4 teams who've been making the playoffs in the AFC West or the AFC North. Who the heck knows? Anyway,
right.
We'll move on to the AFC North. Speaking of which, we'll go with the Baltimore Ravens. And made some great additions in the offseason as well. I sort of feel like the Ravens had a great draft, and like everyone at PFF was raving about it. They thought that was the best draft overall. They got value in the 3rd round, just everything. The problem was like every team just made so many moves. Even the Ravens with the draft that they had didn't get better at the receiver position. Stacked secondary now, and that's going to be important with all the injuries that transpired last year. But they didn't make a move at the second most important position in football, the receiver position this year. So I'm a little hesitant. With the Ravens. What's their over-under? Let's see over here. DraftKings.
10.5.
You have 10.5?
I don't know. The DraftKings was just acting up.
Yeah, 9.5.
9.5.
9.5. I'll go over 9.5. They had a good draft, and they stacked the secondary. But I think 10. I think 10 is an appropriate number. Listen. By the way, I'm going to put it out right here. I've been very critical of Lamar Jackson. Contract years bring the best out of these quarterbacks. And I think there's a good chance he could bring that out of Lamar Jackson too. He'll have a better year than last year, and he'll improve in a lot of ways. Better pocket passing, more awareness in the pocket, not make as many boneheaded throws, put the ball in harm's way a lot last year. I think he'll be able to do that, and the Ravens will get over 9.5. What about you?
Yeah, I have a 17-0 written down for the Ravens here.
Mm-hmm. Can't argue with that.
No, I think they win 10-11 if they stay healthy. If Lamar Jackson's a full healthy season and the defense stays 90-95% healthy, and I think, but even without a great receiving core, Lamar Jackson himself can get it done. The running backs will be there. He has to be able to throw the ball. Mark Andrews will be huge for them, but I see that the Ravens do win 10-11 games here. They go over the 9.5. Give me 11. If you want to jot me down for something, give me 11 wins.
You'll be surprised to know that the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you guys hear that thing? Okay, I think we're good. So there's a little technical difficulty there. So the Cincinnati Bengals will be surprised to know have a higher win total than the Baltimore Ravens. That is probably the first time this has happened in who knows how long. For sure since the John Harbaugh era. Anyway, I think actually don't quote me on that because with Andy Dalton they won the division a couple times. But they're over under 10, and I'm going over Meisty. I'm going over. Joe Burrow was the number 1 ranked quarterback in PFF last year. They had 2 of the top 10 receivers in football. T. Higgins was underrated last year. Underrated receiver, over 1,100 yards. Just a fantastic receiver. And they honestly had an underrated offseason. What was the biggest problem? The offensive line. They improved in several aspects in the offensive line. Great offseason for the Bengals. Very under the radar. I like him. I like the Bengals, and I think they're going to go over 10.
Give me the Bengals exactly 10 wins. That's what I'm looking at. I like it. I like that. I mean, they're not the easiest rank of schedule, but they should still be fine overall here. Like you said, they're just improved where they were hurting, and Joe Burrow's hungry. I mean, he knows what it's like to almost have it. So some guys, they say, they go once, they never go back. But I think Joe Burrow will be back. He's one of those guys that he wants that feeling. He knows he's won the national championship. He knows what it's like to be on top. So now he's felt what it's like to lose that. Then he'll be back. Bengals will be fine. I don't think they win the division, but they'll have 10 wins.
Hey, so I don't think we have the Browns. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anything yet because I don't.
They probably don't know. I'm assuming they just don't know.
Well, they have plus 275 odds of winning the division, which is the third best odds in the division, right behind the Ravens have the best odds to win division 160, and the Bengals are plus 190.
Yeah, I'll get you a number for the.
So I don't have the Browns. Let's go to the Steelers for now. The Steelers are 7, which is very low for the Steelers. But honestly, they're in a tough division, man. They're in a tough division. They had a good draft, other than drafting what's his name at number 20. I mean, they literally could have waited 2 rounds and still got him. The top quarterbacks on the board weren't getting in till later in the draft. So honestly, I think that give them 7. I'm gonna go even. It's my first even. I'm going with the Steelers 7. Don't worry about the Browns. We'll have to.
I have the line for the Browns. I'm mind blown by this.
Okay, fine, but don't do it yet. We're on the Steelers now, so I'm going to go 7 for the Steelers, 7 even, just because Mike Tomlin's too good. They didn't have that good of a team last year. They really didn't, and yet they made the playoffs. Big Ben was not good last year. He couldn't throw the ball past 5 yards accurately at all. He had Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool and throw the ball short to them and let them do the rest. That was all it was. So honestly, I don't see how – I don't know. I understand how the Steelers do it. They're just always somehow competitive. Tomlin is unbelievable. But I don't know. Too tough a division, too tough of a conference. I'm going even 7 wins. You're going under. You're going under.
I was maybe thinking 5, but I'm not. That's just too biased.
Don't underestimate the Steelers. Don't do it. Don't underestimate the Steelers.
All right, it's like Bill Belichick. So I'll give them 6 wins. But it's a tough division. Okay, Rocky. Going quickly to the Browns here.
Go to the Browns.
Okay, so it's very confusing. So I have a number here that says 10. Seems that even Vegas doesn't know what the Browns are going to do. So they're just like, we don't want to put them too low.
Fine, so how about this? How many wins do you think the Browns are going to get this year?
Well, that's what I'm looking at here.
And you have no idea if Deshaun Watson's going to play or not. That's a part of that.
Yeah, I'm going to say they win 7. Oh, I mean, if no Baker and no Deshaun Watson, I don't think they could go 0-16. Well, Amari Cooper could win them a game.
The Steelers are better than the Browns without Deshaun Watson. I think the Browns will get 5 wins without Deshaun Watson. Not because they're a bad team.
Right. I'm gonna say that somehow the Browns are gonna win 7 games this season.
Okay. If they don't have Deshaun, I'm going 5. If they have Deshaun Watson for half the season, I'll go 8. If they have him for the whole season, I'll go 10.
Okay.
How about that? All right, that about wraps it up. We don't have to talk about the Browns much because we all know just crazy offseason moves they've made. They really should be. I mean, if they have Deshaun Watson, they'll be a scary Super Bowl contending team. They have Deshaun Watson all season. Maybe even I'll go 11, actually. Maybe we'll go 11. 11 if they have Deshaun Watson all season. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, but I guess we'll have to see as the offseason develops. We still have some time left for the NFL to make that decision. All right, so that's the AFC East and the AFC North. By the way, just predicting the winners for each division, okay? For the AFC East, I'm obviously going to pick the Bills, and I'm assuming you're going to pick the Bills as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and for the AFC North, I know you're going to pick the Ravens. I'm going to pick the Bengals. I think they're going to repeat, and I think they're a very underrated offseason. I think the Ravens will make the playoffs as a wild card, but I think the Bengals will win that division, and I know that you're going to go with the Ravens, correct?
Uh-huh.
So let's get started, Yehuda, with the AFC South. We're going to start right off with the Indianapolis Colts. Their over-under is 10 wins on the season. What do you think, Yehuda? Do they go over or do they go under?
Yeah, listen, I almost forgot the name of the show. I've been gone for so long. But luckily, I remember the right place to go. So we got 10 wins. That is there's a reason why Vegas is good at what they do, because honestly, I feel like that's exactly what they're going to do. I think they're going to hit 10-7, maybe 11 wins. So you know what? I think because the division is so weak, I'll go over because I have them right at 11 wins, and I think the addition of Matt Ryan and the subtraction of Carson Wentz should propel this team to, I think, the playoffs and a division win at 11 wins.
I don't know if you know, but we sort of bent the rules here, and you can go even if you want also. So, so you can go an even 10. That's a thing that you could do as well. So, and in fact, I think, when we're looking at the Colts, like you said, Matt Ryan obviously coming there, and they actually have a pretty good roster. They had a pretty good roster last year. Everything is above average. So I think, they're good enough to win 10 games. That's why I'm going to go put them in even 10, and especially because of the fact that they are in a weak division. People forget, by the way, Matt Ryan is a little older. He hasn't been playing at the level that we're accustomed to seeing him. He has been getting progressively older and progressively worse, though he's still playing at a pretty good level, probably in the 10 to 15 range. But that decline should continue to happen unless he proves to us otherwise and has like a Tom Brady resurgence. But I'm going to go even exactly at 10. So we'll move on to the Tennessee Titans at 9, who were champions of the AFC last year, Yehuda, right? Champions of the AFC, and they only have an over-under of 9. What do you think about that?
I actually think that's shooting them a little high. Listen, I've been gone for so long. I didn't know the rules about the over-unders, the even. So, yeah, it's good to know finding out live.
Yes.
But yeah, 9 wins for a team that I consider to be one of the worst 1 seeds I've seen in a long time last year. And I knew they were a little bit of a paper champion and not really deserving of that 1 seed. And then to see them lose in the first round, we saw. But 9 wins seems a little high, so I got to go under, especially with the pressure from Malik Willis being drafted on Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill said, it's not my job to coach him, so it seems like he's feeling the pressure a little bit. He had a really tough time with those interceptions. And now they lost their best receiver, losing A.J. Brown. Still have Derrick Henry, but he's coming off an injury. Who knows? Getting older running back. I think they take a serious step back and are definitely going to be under 9 wins.
That is very interesting. I actually think they're gonna go over. I
wow.
I don't really see much competition in this division. I know people are banking on Trevor Lawrence's surgence this year, and that might happen. It might not. Maybe it was just the coaching last year with Jacksonville. I don't know, but he wasn't exactly great last year. It's not like he's just gonna come out of the gate and be this incredible, all-star quarterback. So I'm still banking on the Titans feasting on a bad division and winning over time. I know A.J. Brown's a huge loss. It's a huge loss. Don't get me wrong. But okay, so A.J. Brown, they'll lose 3 less. They'll win 3 games less than they did last year. And with that being said, I think they'll end up on the overside of 9. It'll be a very close division race between them and the Colts. That's how I see things playing out. Okay, so now speaking of which, we'll go to the Jacksonville Jaguars at 6.5 with the hype surrounding the former number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence. What you got for this one, Yehuda?
Yeah, so this one's fun. We some people believe in Trevor Lawrence jump. Some people think it's going to take a little longer. Some people are already calling him a bust because there's no time to waste anymore. 1 year he's not good, and then he's gone apparently. But no, that's a little too fast. But I'm actually going to take the over here. I think they can get to 7 wins. I don't think I see them really winning any more than that. A good 7 and 10. I think Jacksonville would actually be happy. New Doug Peterson, new head coach. Maybe he can get the best out of him. I mean, there's a little fluky, but he did win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, and he did guide that Eagles team to the number 1 seed, even with Carson Wentz. So I think he could probably get the best out of Trevor Lawrence. And I know that their offseason kind of felt like the Patriots from last year's, where they paid a lot of money for not very good players. Remember how the Patriots were paying Kendrick Bourne and Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, guys that weren't deserving of top money, and then they got top money. The Jaguars kind of did the same with Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, giving him 18, 19 million a year, changing the entire receiver market. But anyway, they'll still an improvement a little bit, and I think the Jaguars themselves as well will improve to about 7 wins. So I'll take the over.
Again, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go under. Honestly, I just, I think people are expecting Trevor Lawrence to take this incredible jump. And by the way, it's very similar with the Ravens. People think Rashad Bateman's going to take this incredible jump. This happens to second-year guys all the time. Like they sort of have show a couple sparks in their rookie year, not really playing up to expectations, but show a couple sparks, and people, well, this is the year he's going to take that step, and he might. He might, but the Jaguars still have a really bad roster. They're still a really bad team. And yes, a couple moves, they did improve in a couple aspects in the roster, no question, but they still have a really bad team. And until Trevor Lawrence proves that he can be that guy, I still think that the six range is probably the appropriate range for them. Then we'll go with the team with the lowest win, one of the lowest win totals, predicted win totals in the league. It's 4.5. The Houston Texans, and the reason 4.5 is so low generally wouldn't be, but in a 17-game season, to predict a team to have 4.5 wins is really bad. So with that being said, Yehuda, what do you think about the Texans 4.5?
So the AFC South actually is playing the NFC East, which some people. I consider the AFC South to be the weakest division in football. Definitely the weakest in the AFC. But some people consider, the NFC East to be a little weaker. But it's just bad on bad. But I think the Texans are even more bad. And on the way to their rebuild, they did get a great haul for Deshaun Watson, especially if, as we're recording this, his ruling will be out within a day or two. Especially if he's suspended for like a year or so and then he's not playing football for 3 years, to get a bunch of first-round picks for a guy who's out of football for 3 years. It's a pretty good haul, and it's a good start for the rebuild. But I like Davis Mills, but he's fine. Like, the roster isn't that good. They're building with some young guys, and like their corner, Derek Stingley, but they just seem like a bad team. And I think 4 wins is right about where they're going to win. How many they're going to win. So I'm going to take the under. This one, they could win 5. Like, this isn't something that I would put a lot of money on, but I'd probably take the under on 4.5.
Yeah, it's hard to put a lot of money on a win total like this, 4.5. It's like you don't have to be that good, but no, in reality, you have to not stink to win over 4 games. And the Texans just stink. I mean, they're in a rebuild mode. That's just what it is right now. They're not denying that. That's the trading for Watson and getting that whole haul. And Davis Mills is not the answer, obviously. He's a good, interim quarterback till they find someone else. But, yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Texans going under 4.5. Just, again, too many holes in that roster. I honestly, I was looking at it this offseason. I was trying to find when we did our most underrated players from each team. It was very hard to find an underrated player in the Texans because they don't have a lot of talented players. But I'm sure that'll change in a few years again. The football rebuild's not as long as the baseball rebuild. Like, you don't have to wait 5 years to be good again. They could be good again in 2 or 3 years if they do things right and everything falls into place for them.
So let's get rolling with the AFC West. Again, we're continuing with the over-unders. And we're going to start with the AFC West, Meisty. And let's kick it off with the Kansas City Chiefs predicted at 10.5 at a 10.5 win total. What do you think, Meisty?
I mean, the Chiefs here have probably the toughest schedule in the NFL if you look at it down, right? So this is a very tough one. The Chiefs are in a tough position. They lose their number 1 receiver. I'm going to take the over, but because they have Patrick Mahomes, best player in the league right now.
Yeah, that's very interesting, actually. I thought you were going in a similar direction as me when you mentioned, they have a tough schedule, because I actually think that the Chiefs are going to, in fact, go under. Now, again, you lose Tyreek Hill. That's a huge difference. Patrick Mahomes' average depth of target was down by 1.3 yards last year. Already, even with the deep threats still there in Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman. You take Tyreek Hill away, he no longer has the ability to throw it short and let his guys do the rest after the run. That was a big part of their offense last year. We forget. He had to adjust on the fly. He had to be like, you know what, Tyreek? For some reason, teams are taking away the deep ball. Instead, I'll throw it to you short, and you'll do the rest after the catch. He doesn't have him anymore to do that, so therefore I think the Chiefs are going to go below 10.5. With that being said, we will go ahead to the Chargers at 10, Meisty. What you got for this one?
The Chargers are an interesting team. Last year, I think they underperformed there, and I think they could have locked in a spot in the playoffs way earlier. I think they lost games that they shouldn't have lost. I'm going to go with the over here. I think it's simple. I think that Justin Herbert's getting way better, and they're coming together as a team. Khalil Mack and everything, they'll be good. I think.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there. I'm going to go over with the Chargers. I mean, listen, You get J.C. Jackson, you get Khalil Mack. This is a team that was knocking on the door of the playoffs last year. Literally, I mean, that crazy Sunday night game to conclude the season. We all saw that game. That was nuts. I hope we get another couple of those this season. But anyway, point being that, yes, I agree. The Chargers, I think, will go over 10. Just adding talent to that. It's very difficult, Meisty, to go over for any team in this division. And any team in the AFC, for that matter. But with the Chargers, I'm going to go ahead and take the over. Okay, the Broncos have exactly the same over at 10. What do you think about the Broncos at 10, Meisty?
I think the Broncos are probably the most overrated team this season. I'm not a big Russell Wilson fan. And Russell is talented, don't get me wrong. But I think his slinging days are over. I think he's just one of those, like, give me Dak Prescott over Russell Wilson. Sorry to say it. Under.
Give me Dak Prescott. No. Happens to be, Meisty, you and I are seeing eye to eye on a lot of these matters in this division because I agree with you. I just think the Broncos have a bit of an overrated roster. They have a good roster, don't get me wrong. I think they'll be a good team, but we're talking about going up against the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Raiders twice a year. The Raiders are a solid team of their own right. So yes, is Russell Wilson a talented quarterback? Yes, but he hasn't played at the level that we're accustomed to seeing from him over the last couple of years. Even though they have some talented receivers, Jerry Jeudy, they have some talented players on the roster, I don't think it'll be enough to go over 10. So I also think I'm going to take the under as well. Now let's go with the last team in the division. And by the way, just to be fair to you, Meisty, for the NFC West, I'll go first. So for the Raiders over under is 8.5. What you got for Vegas?
So first of all, you have to remember one thing about this division. They all play the Jaguars, Texans, and Seahawks this year. That's 3 wins. That's 3 auto wins. Just remember that. The Raiders are the most interesting team. They have the best receiver in the league. They have a great quarterback. They have a great team built. They have new coaches who are great. But just like the Broncos, they're in the toughest division. They're in a very tough division. If they can't get past the Broncos and the Chargers, they're not going to make the playoffs, right? So last year they did it, but I don't see them doing it again this year. I'm going to take the under on the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we're really agreeing on a lot of these points. I was looking at the over-unders, just before, just looking them over and seeing, well, where do I stand right now? I might, have a different opinion by the time the podcast comes around. But I agree with you. I think that the Raiders are going to struggle in this division, and not that they're a bad team at all. And I think if they were in the NFC, I would predict them to get a wild card spot for sure, depending on the division that they're in, probably win the division, right? But at the end of the day, they are in the toughest division in football. They're going to have to go up against these 3 teams, despite the great point you mentioned, going up against those 3 weak teams this year. But they're going to have to go up against those 3 teams in the division. It's going to be very tough for any of these teams to go over, but it'll probably be the toughest, arguably, for the Raiders in their own right. And with that being said, let's do it. Let's
give me one more point on the Raiders real quick. Sorry. Their week 16 and 17 matchups, I just was able to pull that up. They get to play the Steelers and the 49ers. There's a good chance that both Kenny Pickett and Trey Lance will be starting by then. And I don't know if they'll play into their favor. And either they'll play into their favor because they're rookies, or it'll be rookies that have experienced enough playing time that they're going for a win on the final games of their seasons. Might play big for them, the Raiders.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point. By the way, is that a new sweatshirt that you got? I've never seen you wear that one before. White one.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful Rocky and Meisty sweatshirt. Thanks to Morty Epstein and at Justool. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it does look really nice. I'm not gonna lie, it caught my attention over there. The white, I like it. I have a black one, but that's a nice one as well. So anyway, we'll have to move on to the NFC West. And by the way, predicting the AFC West division winner, I guess we can go ahead and do that. So here is my opinion on who's gonna win the AFC West, and this might shock you, Meisty, but I think that the Los Angeles Chargers, the Chargers of LA, are going to win the AFC West. Again, the additions of J.C. Jackson, the addition of Khalil Mack, extending Mike Williams, a couple more years with the team. They have Keenan Allen on the roster. Justin Herbert continues to develop. It's similar to Josh Allen in certain aspects. Josh Allen didn't start off his career nearly as quick as Justin Herbert did. But in terms of this guy's got a lot of talent, will he hit his upside? So far he has. So that would have to lead us to believe that he will continue to go on that trajectory and lead the Chargers to the promised land. So with that being said, I'm going to give the Chargers the title for the AFC West this season, Meisty. What about you? Who do you think is going to win the division?
Rocky, we went into this podcast without knowing what each other was saying. Honestly, one of us could have done this entire podcast by ourselves. The Los Angeles Chargers, I said last year, were going to win the AFC West. This year, I think they go ahead and win again. I mean, they didn't win it last year, but I'm going to pick them again. I think they win it. I think that the Chiefs just have a tough schedule. Last year, they didn't have a tough schedule, and they were still struggling. This year, tough schedule. Patrick Mahomes a little overrated, maybe. I don't know. Possibly. I have the Chargers as well. It's not such a crazy pick.
Very interesting. Look at that, Meisty. It's contrary to our last couple of podcasts. On the same page a lot in this podcast.
Am I rubbing off on you, or is this like? Are you rubbing off on me?
Don't get any ideas. Don't get any ideas. Listen. When you have a good concept, great minds think alike, as they say. Despite our difference in opinions, some things are just good opinions, and that's the consensus across the board.
Let's get started with the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Green Bay Packers over/under is 11. 11 games for the Green Bay Packers. They are in one of the worst divisions in football, Meisty, right? One of the worst divisions in football. The Packers are going over. The Packers are going over. People forget how good this defense is. Jaire Alexander was one of the best, actually graded PFF's #1 cornerback in football 2 years ago. He missed most of the year last year. That gave a chance for Rasul Douglas to come into that #1 spot. Played really well. You're now going to have Rasul Douglas #2. That's going to be a great secondary. And the front seven is good. They don't have the receivers. It's true. But at the end of the day, you got the bad man Aaron Rodgers.
Who's he going to throw it to, Rocky? Who's he going to throw it to?
You got the bad man Aaron Rodgers. You got the shutdown secondary. I still think they can go over 11 in a weak division.
You know what? Give me the under. Give me the under all day.
They completely beat the Lions twice and the Bears twice. They already have 4 wins.
They will lose to the Lions.
You're saying it right now. You're on the record.
Right here, right now, I'm saying it. Bottom line is this. He has no one to throw to. Unless they make some type of trade between now and the season start, or during the season they make a trade, then yes. But they're going to start the season. He's going to be throwing it to Alan Lazard or whoever he's going to be throwing to. I don't even know who's on the roster right now. But whoever he's going to be throwing the ball to, it's not the same. It's not Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams made himself get open. Rodgers is great, but he's not just going to be able to just throw the ball up and guys are going to be able to catch the ball. It doesn't work that way. I mean, it works that way, but it doesn't work that way.
All right, moving on to the second best team in the division. It's the Minnesota Vikings, who have an over/under of 9. And this one was a tough one for me, Meisty, because just Kirk Cousins to Justin Jefferson alone is enough to warrant a few wins, right? That's a real good connection. Kirk Cousins was a top 10 quarterback last year. A lot of people forget. I know they tend to not let the ball loose a lot there in Minnesota. They don't let him show his skills as much as they should, perhaps. But at the end of the day, he's been a talented quarterback his entire career. Justin Jefferson is just fantastic. And the duo with Adam Thielen. It's enough to get them 9. I'm going to go straight even 9. What do you think?
I'm going to go over 9 here. I'm just going to say over 9.
Over 9? So you think the Packers and the Vikings are going to have the same amount of wins?
The Vikings in the division.
Should we end the podcast now?
I think that's breaking news.
Should we end it now? Now or later? Which one?
I think I end it right now. I thought
Shall I walk out the
right now. The Vikings are in the division. You hear it first. You hear it from me first.
Okay.
Looking at it right now. Division winners. Let's see.
Let me guess. The Detroit Lions at 6.5. The Detroit Lions at 6.5 are going over.
They're from Detroit. They are the Lions. They suck.
Yeah, they're going under. I agree with that. Lions going under. What about the Bears at 6.5?
They're God. They suck.
What about the Bears at 6.5?
Bears can get there, but not. And I trying to think of their schedule. But I'm going to say the Bears under.
Under. Okay. Bears, I agree with you. But, again, they're going to play the Lions twice. Okay. The Vikings are not an easy team for the Bears, but they have to play the Packers twice. and they are in an easier NFC.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Sorry about that. Yeah, you're good.
No, if Justin Fields, at the end of the day, actually, Justin Fields had a couple good games. I remember we watched Monday Night Football against the Steelers. The man single-handedly brought them, and that lucky punt return, whatever it was, fumble return for a touchdown, granted. But he single-handedly kept them in that game, and that was one of his more impressive games of the year. But honestly, he has the rushing upside. I do think he didn't have a great year overall, but let it develop, and I think this team can win a few games. But yeah, for now, let's keep him under 6.5. By the way, 17 games changes everything. It changes everything. Otherwise, this would be a 5.5 over-under. There's no question. And the lines would be like 5. Oh, you have to go. Okay. Okay, so we'll move on. We'll move on to the.
You're good. You're good. Continue. Sorry about that. I just had
No. We need more to chime in because we're moving on to the NFC North, the NFC East. I mean, we're moving on to the NFC East. So we'll start. We need to get Morty in here. So, but we're going to start with the America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And quite honestly, Meisty, the Cowboys are at 10, and I'm going over. Again, not a great division. They get to play the Commanders and the Giants twice a year? Yes, please, baby. Give me that over. I'm taking the over for the Cowboys. How about you?
Dallas Cowboys will have exactly 10 wins. They will be 10-7 this year. Exactly.
Interesting.
They might have won that off their division games, but they will lose the tough games. They won't win the good. They will lose something in the division. Maybe one to the Eagles or one to the Redskins. Somebody's going to beat them. So I'm going to have to say exactly 10 wins.
Now, fly, Eagles, fly. The Philadelphia Eagles over-under comes in at 9.5, which is tough.
The Eagles might get lucky if they get one win this year. The Eagles suck.
I presuming you want someone in specific to hear those words, but what does Morty think? Does Morty think
he can hear me all right? He's just not.
Does Morty think that the Eagles will go over or under 9.5? I wonder.
Morty, over under 9.5. You said over.
I thought it was shocker. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go over. I'm liking this. I'm liking this Cowboys-Eagles fighting out the division for the next few years. You know, I just think that's a cool dynamic. Like, Dak Prescott obviously has the upper hand on Jalen Hurts right now, but Jalen Hurts, people forget, like, this man was the top rushing quarterback in football because of the fact that Lamar Jackson was absent for a good portion of the year. He was the top rushing quarterback in football last year. So, you know, that man just improves his passing game a little bit. He doesn't have, I say this with Lamar Jackson, I say it with Jalen Hurts. He does not have to be a top 5. He doesn't have to be the best quarterback in football. He doesn't have to be top 5 passer in football. With that type of rushing upside, he can be the 15th to 20th best passer, and the Eagles could still win 9-10 games. So I'm going over. How about you?
I'm gonna take the under on this one. I know the Eagles are like putting it together, but we're forgetting about like the Giants in this division. All right, Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley. I mean, they have a good team there in New York also, so don't forget about them in the division. But I don't think they have any chance. But I think the Eagles go under.
All right, and we'll move on to the Washington Commanders at 8. That's a big number for the Commanders, honestly. Like, what is that, Meisty? Like, shed some light here. Why did Vegas pick the Commanders at 8? That's a high number. That's like one game below 500.
They're a good team. I mean, they're not great, but their defense is okay. They have somewhat of a good offense. They're obviously missing big pieces that they need to win, but to get to 8 wins, like we say, that division, the Giants, they can get 8. The Cowboys fall apart, they can win there. They also have an easy schedule. They have a really good defense.
They do, but do you on it like is Vegas putting a lot of weight into Carson Wentz? I sort of have a feeling they are. Like
yes, but also like I think that if Vegas made the line 6 or 7, we'd be smashing the over way too heavy.
No, we wouldn't. 7, I would not be smashing the over at 7. I think they're going to get like
6. Rocky, if it was 6 wins.
6 is
they need 7 wins. I mean, that's not hard for the Redskins to do.
6 is a different story. Okay, 6 I can hear. But that's why I'm going to go under because I think that 7 is probably the right number for them. So I'm going to go under the 8. But you think 8's a good number. So are you going over or under?
I'm gonna go over. I mean, it's gonna be 8. I think it's gonna be 8, but that's like the number. 8 is the number. I think they'll scrap 8 wins. Now Chiefs has to.
So
stay
you going
healthy.
even or you going over?
Oh, I can go even. I'll go even. I think 8. Grade 8.
We made up our own rules that we can go even.
Only on the if they don't give us a 0.5. That's all.
Correct. Yeah, I'm gonna go even 6.5. Even 6.5. If they win 6 or if they win 7, I'm good to go. Okay, and now we'll conclude with the New York Football Giants. Danny Dimes in at 7. Over under is 7, and I'm going under. I'm going under the 7, Meisty. What about you?
Yeah, obviously, we're going under here. I mean, there's nothing.
What did the Jets have? 5.5. The Jets had 5.5. Listen, at least the Giants probably give the Giants another 1.5 because they're in the NFC. Literally, probably the only reason. I don't. Maybe assuming, and also they have a little.
Jets or the Giants? You said the Jets. You mean the Giants?
No, the Giants have 1.5. We did the Jets last time, and the Jets over under is 5.5. The Giants is a game and a half better. That's a lot, and the Giants are not good.
Right.
They're better than the Jets, but that's not saying much. Okay, so let's move on to the NFC South, and I guess I'll start with the teams this time. So that'll give you something to feed off of, right? Sort of, it goes both ways. Which one's better, to start or to go second? So I'll start. We're gonna go with the NFC South right off the bat. We're gonna go with Tom Brady unretiring and the Bucks. The Bucks over under is 11.5, and I think it's safe to say they'll go over. I know it's a cliche thing to say. Tom Brady's coming back, but again. Now that Sean Payton is out of the division and Drew Brees is out of the division and Matt Ryan's out of the division, Baker Mayfield is in the division. I think that this is really the Bucs. I mean, this is like they are looking at this division and they are just saying, "Wow, this is fantastic. This is like dessert." And will they sweep the division, win 5 games? I don't know. But at the end of the day, again, they're in the weaker conference and they're in the weakest division. But debatable if it's one of the weakest divisions for sure. So with that being said, I'm liking the Bucs go over 11.5. What do you think, Yehuda?
Honestly, yeah. I mean, I forgot about this. I forgot how bad this division is.
Correct.
And you said they're going to go 6-0. They're not. They're going to go 4-0 against the Panthers and the Falcons, and then somehow lose both games to Jameis Winston and Dennis Allen of the Saints, but still end up with over. You said 11.5 is over.
11.5.
11.5. Yeah, and still end up with 12 or 13, maybe even 14 wins. Yeah, Tom Brady can sleepwalk through this division. He saw Russell Wilson get traded. He did see Aaron Rodgers stay in the NFC. He saw Russell Wilson get traded. He saw Matt Ryan get traded out of the division. He saw Drew Brees retire. And he's like, I just have to show up when we're going to win 10 games and win this division. I think they're still going to win more than that because I think Brady's going to put in a little bit of effort. And they're going to win 12 to 14 games. But there's not a lot of competition in this division, and there's not even that much competition in the NFC for Brady to make a big push to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, Bucs easily winning this division and somehow going to figure out a way to lose at least one to the Saints.
Yeah, right.
So we'll see.
Right, even though the Saints are not even as good as they were last year, and they weren't that good last year. But yeah, no, I think somehow the Saints, we're in the playoff race till the last week of the season, and we're talking about their starting quarterback, who's a mediocre quarterback, Jameis Winston, got injured halfway through the year, and yet they still somehow remained in that race. So the Saints, speaking of which, their over/under is 8. We're going to give them an over/under of 8. And honestly, when we look at the Saints, like their team isn't that good. And they don't have Sean Payton anymore. Like I used to rely on, I do this a lot with the Steelers, right? The Steelers, I always say, well, they have Mike Tomlin, right? So because of the fact that they have Mike Tomlin, it doesn't have to make sense. The roster doesn't have to be that good. They can have no quarterback, but they have Mike Tomlin, so they're going to win a few games. The Saints are going under 8. And that's because of the next team in the division, who I actually think are going to be sneaky pretty good this year. But the Saints are going to go under 8. They got to go against the Bucs twice. They don't have enough talent. Again, not a rebuild, but it'll take a couple years for them to get back that spot, get a quarterback in there, no, you can't replace Sean Payton in a year. It just doesn't work like that. So I think the Saints are going to go under 8. What about you?
I already know Rocky's secret love. I know we were talking about this.
You knew I had to get that in there.
Carolina, I know. I think I know who we're talking about. But yeah, the Saints are actually going to take a push for this one because I think their defense is better than people think. Dennis Allen is a very good defensive coordinator. I mean, he held Tom Brady to 0 points last year in Tampa Bay. They beat them 9-0. Did not score a touchdown. That was one of the ugliest games I've ever seen Tom Brady play. and one of the ugliest Sunday Night Football games we got to watch. And the Saints still won. They helped Brady. They shut out Brady. So I think the defense is legit. Jameis Winston coming off an injury wasn't that good beforehand, and now coming off an ACL. It's gonna be tough for the offense. Alvin Kamara potential suspension, not good for the team. Michael Thomas coming back, that is good, but we don't know if he's gonna be the same. So it feels like 8 wins is their ceiling. So I think they're gonna figure out a way to scrap to that and get to 8 wins. And like be in playoff contention exactly like last year, where they're in playoff contention, kind of, sort of, not really till the end of the season, but then kind of crap out and just finish with a losing record at 8-9.
Fair enough. I'll take that assessment. Moving on to, of course, you predicted the Carolina Panthers over/under is 6.5, and I'll go over. Now, listen, I'm not going to go as far as to say that the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. I really don't know that, even in a weak NFC. But again, it is a weak NFC, and it is a weak NFC South. And when you combine those factors, like Baker Mayfield did not played awful last year. But let's just say he plays a little better. Like, he's got some good receivers. Robbie Anderson also did not play well last year. Both Robbie Anderson and Baker Mayfield are known for playing at higher levels than they played last year. If they play a little better, they are in that weak NFC South. Yeah, they could win 7 or 8 games. I could see them going over 6.5, maybe knocking on the door of the 7th seed at the end of the season. I'm not sure. That's obviously going to be very much contingent on Baker Mayfield's performance. But, assuming he's going to get a little better with the shoulder surgery and everything else, then I think the Panthers will, in fact, go over 6.5. What about you?
Assuming Baker Mayfield wins the starting quarterback competition, okay, he's got to beat out.
That would be sad. That would just be sad if that didn't happen.
Yes, that would be very sad. But absolute stud Sam Darnold.
Yeah, right.
Ghost. But yeah, Baker's going to win the quarterback competition. He's going to beat the Browns. He's going to go crazy. That's going to be a Super Bowl, and he's going to be vindicated. They're going to start off hot and then fizzle out like they did last year. They start 3-0, but. Like you said, though, if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy, which I would love to see, especially for all fantasy players, would love to see him stay, unless they're playing against him. Love to see him healthy and available. But if Christian McCaffrey can stay healthy and their defense, which is okay, it's solid, if they can play up to their potential, I think they can win 7 games. So I'll actually take the over with you. I don't think they really have any playoff capabilities, really. NFC is very weak, but I don't really think they have a chance to play for the 7th seed. But yeah, that would be their ceiling. But I would say probably 7 or 8 wins, so over that 6.5.
Right, so they're really fighting it out with like the Vikings for the 7th seed. Yep. Like those are the type of teams they're fighting out. So it's not great. It's not fantastic competition. That's why I think they might have. If they were in the AFC, I mean, they're one of the bottom feeders, but they're not. So. That's really more where it's coming from. So we'll wrap up with the Atlanta Falcons at 5. Honestly, the starting quarterback, Felipe Franks. You remember that? Felipe Franks, starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. No, Mariota coming in there. This is not pleasant for the Falcons. Again, when you lose your veteran quarterback, the guy that's been there for over a decade, it generally takes a few years to get back to where you want to be. It's the same thing with the Steelers this year. It just generally takes, right, with the Saints. It just generally takes a few years to get back to where you want to be. So with that being said, I do think the Falcons will be one of the worst teams in football, and they'll go under that 5. What about you?
I couldn't have said it better myself. Honestly, they should start Felipe Franks, see what they have in him. No, but they saw in that Thursday night game how atrocious he was against the Patriots. But this team going to be one of the worst, if not the worst. I think the 2 divisions that we just talked about, Falcons and Texans, will be fighting it out for 1 and 2. Maybe the Bears. The Bears could be a lot worse than people think. But yeah, this team is going under 5 wins, and I could see them maybe winning 3 games, honestly. Like, their defense is bad. I think Arthur Smith, their coach, is an offensive guy, and his highest paid offensive player plays for the Colts now because they're paying $36 million in dead money or something. Like, oh my gosh, they should have traded him a while ago. It was rough, really bad for them. This is just an absolute end of an era. They should have won a Super Bowl, 28-3. They could have made the Super Bowl in 2012 against when they kind of choked in the NFC Championship against the Niners. That Atlanta's not ready for what was going to happen.
That's for sure.
Later in the Super Bowl. Yeah. But this team, it's really like what could have been. They could have had a ring. Could have had Matt Ryan. I think probably would have made. He could make the Hall of Fame, but I think he definitely would have made the Hall of Fame if he had an MVP and a ring in the same year. But Yeah, it's just they got to completely rebuild, and this is going to be a bad football team, and they're going to go under 5 wins.
With that being said, we'll move on to the NFC West, our last division, Meisty. After this, we will have made it through the entire league. We've tried this plenty of times with different things, and after this, we will have made it through. So let's get to it, baby. And I'm gonna kick off with the Rams at 10.5, man. I'm gonna go over, and honestly, it's a tough one for me. But again, the NFC is not very good. That we can all agree with. And the Rams are the reigning Super Bowl champs, and as Meisty and I have discussed and gotten heated about, the Rams have, successfully probably maintained a relatively same roster as they had from the Super Bowl winning year. What gives me a little hesitation about them is Matthew Stafford, very up and down quarterback, definitely. Even last year we saw he was like a top 10 quarterback in the league, never top 5. Some games were worse, some games were better. A lot of hesitations in terms of Matthew Stafford, but he seems to fit into this scheme very well. He has great receivers around him, obviously, and I think that'll lead him to lead the Rams to going over 10.5. What do you think about the Rams 10.5?
The Rams are going to have exactly 11 wins this season, and they're not even going to win their division.
That's a wow. Okay, so with that being said, perfect segue into the 49ers at 10. So 49ers at 10, I'm actually going to go under. I think, again, I don't want to pick too many unders in the NFC, but because of the next team, I'm picking the under. They're going to bring Trey Lance in there. It's a big question mark. And I was screaming for Trey Lance in the playoffs last year. But, I mean, compared to Jimmy G, anyone looks good. So, great. But with all due respect to Jimmy G, I just don't think he's a great football player. Great guy, not a great football player. But anyway, point being that they're going to bring Trey Lance in there. A lot of question marks. High ceiling, low floor. Where is he going to hit? I'm not sure. With those question marks, I'm going to go under 10. What do you think, Meisty?
I'm going to have them over here. I'm going to have the 49ers over. I think that Trey Lance is the answer for that team's success. I think Deebo Samuel is huge for them. And if why am I thinking Travis Kelce? Who's their tight end, Rocky?
George Kittle.
Oh, my God. If George Kittle, can stay healthy, I think that they'll be very dangerous. I think he'll abuse George Kittle, though. I think that he'll love just throwing it to the tight end, but he's a dangerous man with his feet, Trey Lance. And I think that he's going to lead them to the playoffs.
All right, that's an interesting statement. So with that being said, let's go to the next team, the Cardinals at 8.5. I think a lot of people are sleeping on the Cardinals, and for good reason, yes, good enough reason for me to bet against Kyler Murray. They just gave him a big extension, and as we've discussed several different times, and that's for a different podcast, and that was on a different podcast, that might come to hurt them down the road. As the salary starts to kick in, and they have to sign Nuke Hopkins, obviously have that big contract. But again, Nuke Hopkins, Kyler Murray. This is a recipe for success. And even though there's a lot of question marks surrounding the roster, they're not, again, and I point out this, I go back to this constantly because it's very important. They're not in a great conference. They're in a pretty good division. They're not in a great conference. They have the Seahawks sitting there. That's 2 games, very winnable. They can easily win 1 game against the Niners. Yeah, I'm saying they can be a competitive team this year, and I'm going to go over 8.5. How about you?
Cardinals are going to have that 8 win. They're not going to get more than 8 wins. D-Up's not going to play a full season. J.J. Watt's not going to play the full season. Kyler Murray's just going to have to, wing it. Listen, he should have some easy wins, that's for sure. But I think he'll lose a few games that he should have easily won. And they're going to probably blame it on the no studying, if you ask me. They're going to be like, oh, he hasn't been studying. He wasn't studying at night, and he wasn't doing homework. So, yeah, the Cardinals under.
No studying. That's funny. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know there were rumors about that. But anyway, let's conclude with the Seahawks at 5.5. I'll just go straight out and say it. The Seahawks are rebuilding. And with that being said, they're going to go over 5 and they're going to go under 5.5. I'm sorry, and they might go under for a couple of years here now until they find that answer at quarterback. And when you lose a veteran quarterback like Russell Wilson, as I mentioned by Matt Ryan, the Falcons now lost Matt Ryan. It's going to take them a few years to recoup from that. And the Steelers lost Ben Roethlisberger. I think it'll take them, although Kenny Pickett looked pretty good the other day, I still think it'll take them some time to recoup from that. Because when you lose your veteran quarterback, the Saints with Drew Brees, when you lose your veteran quarterback, it generally takes time to recoup from that because you got to go back into the quarterback carousel. With that being said, I'm looking at an under for the Seahawks. What about you?
You have no faith in Drew Lock, huh? No. No, I don't either. So I just as you said, I'm gonna just hit that under.
Yeah, fair enough. There's not much more to be said about the Seahawks for sure, although we'll try to definitely delve more into them throughout the season. We don't discriminate between teams. It doesn't matter how good or how bad they are, obviously. If something exciting happens, we talk about it. That's what it comes down to. You know what I'm saying? That's really what it comes down to. And you never know what DK Metcalf can pull off. Yeah, at the end of the day. All right, so we'll stop there, and we got through it, Meisty. We should add in the video when we edit it like a congratulations thing. You know, I think that wouldn't be such a bad. This is a big achievement for us. That means we're consistent. We're getting it done, baby. Stick right here at the Rocky and Meisty Show.
Who's your pick for the NFC West?
Okay, so that's a good question. I'm gonna have to stick with the Super Bowl champs, to be honest. I explained all my reasons already. And I just think they have, the best overall roster, the best passing game. Despite Matthew Stafford's inconsistencies, I'm going to have to stay with them in the best roster in that division.
Give me the 49ers to win the division, baby.
Okay, interesting, intriguing. I'm not going to lie. Okay, so in the AFC West, we had a lot of agreements. In the NFC West, not so much, which is what's the fun part about it. So what I was saying was that stick right here for the Rocky and Meisty Show. Football season is coming up in just a couple weeks. Preseason has obviously already gone underway. This is going to be a great season at the Rocky and Meisty Show. You guys are going to love every step of it. You are not going to regret watching I can't promise that, obviously, but I don't think. I'm pretty confident that you won't regret watching the podcast this season. Football season, we are ready to roll. We have some great stuff set for you. Give you little surprises. And maybe give you a little more of a sneak peek as we progress throughout the last couple of weeks of the off season. With that being said, till next time, everyone, peace out.